Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Dean. I'm a bald man with, once again, the world's biggest headphones. These headphones are meant for a horse, let's say a horse, some sort of large-headed animal, and that's not me, but I'm wearing them nonetheless. And while I'm wearing them, I'm going to be talking to my friend that you may know from his work as a founding member for the British progressive metal band Monuments, and also from his guitar instructional content on the website Riffhard, along with his YouTube channel where he shows off all of his unreal amount of gear. He's a buddy of mine. He plays a lot of down-picked notes. His name is John Browne, and here he is. Welcome, John.
Hello.
Right before this started, I went to the bathroom and I took a piss. So I went, and that's how us Canadians say it. I know you say take a slash, or spend a penny. Like, I understand that there's cultural differences. It reminds me of playing shows, John. It reminds me of playing shows in the way that I have to take a piss right before every single show I ever play. Otherwise, the entire show, I'll be in my head being like, oh my God, I'm thinking about, so I'm wondering, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, there's been a few times when I've actually had to run off stage between songs.
No way.
Because I needed to piss so bad, but that's my own fault for drinking too much beer before I played.
How does that work? So you are in the middle of a song, or middle of a set, and you have like an interlude? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or I just miss the first riff.
You miss the first riff?
Normally I can wait. So we have like an encore where it's like an extra minute and a half, 2 minutes or something like that.
Right.
The laptop's running, backing tracks are running. It depends how far away the toilet is from the stage. That is generally what it comes down to. But I mean, being in North America, I'm sure you're the connoisseur of pissing in water bottles.
Oh, you know what? Okay. That's funny that you bring that up, because everybody in my band is very good at it, and I have never done it. No, I've done it. I did it once, and let me paint a scene for you. Not to be gross, but let me paint. So we're in the middle of the States somewhere, 2, 3, maybe 4 a.m. something like that. It's like after a show, I'm the next up for driving. Okay. We have to leave at 6. I'm asleep at 3. I wake up at 3:30. I have to piss so hard that my bladder is like, it sucks. But John, it's raining like crazy, and meanwhile I'm sleeping sitting up in the front in the driver's side, and so my choices are to go outside and get soaking wet, or sit here and everybody else is asleep, try to piss into a bottle while I'm sitting up in the driver's seat. So obviously I picked that one. So while I'm doing that, I'm pissing, it's fine, and then at one point I just think I'm finished, and then I'm not, and I spray piss all over myself, so I'm covered in piss. I'm sitting here covered in piss, so unhappy, like I'm in the Walmart parking lot and it's like pouring rain and I'm covered in piss. So I had the worst of both scenarios. So I don't know if you've ever had anything like that.
I'm not going to name names, but I've actually watched a few people piss with the bottle. Let me change camera so I can explain this a little bit better.
Okay, well, maybe don't. Okay, well, that camera's fine. Okay, good. Okay, great.
The bottle was here, and they were pissing upwards into it while lying down.
What do you mean? Okay, wait.
The bottle, they're lying down, bottle's on their stomach.
Okay, in my head, I was imagining some sort of gravity-defying, pissing upwards but the nozzle was pointed downward.
Oh yeah, of course, not upwards.
Well, not the nozzle, but the mouth of the bottle. The mouth? No, that's gross.
For lack of a better word, it's anxiety that it sounds like when you go on stage and you need to piss if you don't do it before. It's kind of like that for me when I'm trying to piss in a bottle in a moving vehicle. Yeah. It's bad enough having a toilet in a moving vehicle. You kind of, if you're standing up, you've got to expect that it's going to kind of go everywhere. So I always go for a posh wee, let's say. Posh piss.
A PP. Well, that's great. Are you thinking about touring again in the future? What's that looking like for you?
Yeah, we're not booked until next year because we're currently finishing the record. I say finishing, I mean starting. There's a fair number of songs and we're actually in the studio recording them now, but I wouldn't say that all of them are finished.
Right. Oh, okay. This is interesting because you told me I got a bit of a sneak peek to a new track that Monuments is putting out. How do you guys do that?
So this time with COVID and, not being able to travel anywhere, we've had to sort of do this a little bit differently where we would normally just record the whole album and then start coming up with a release plan. We're actually doing the release plan at the same time as recording the record. We have X amount of songs finished for the record. The rest aren't. Actually, the next batch are being recorded on drums on Friday.
So you're saying this is the first time you've ever done it like this?
Yeah, obviously in an ideal situation, you kind of want to record all the tracks for consistency.
Sure.
This time I've wanted to experiment a little bit more with different sounds, so it's not really required to record it all in one go. Kept like a channel list. We've got pictures of everything where everything's set up is. I've had a cab mic'd up in the other room for months,
right,
it doesn't really matter too much, because the moment that you change tuning, that sound is kind of destroyed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the consistency is really important. Does that mean that the album's going to be a bit more experimental in a way, or is it just going to change the production, or like how is that going to affect the composition, you think?
I don't really know. I mean, the songs that we've recorded so far, they're all in different tunings, so they all required a slightly different approach anyway. I think Mike does this most times, but like toms are tuned to the song. At that point, the mic position has to move anyway.
Right.
You know, or maybe even the drum has to change as we play in so many different tunings, you know, 6, 7 and 8. Thankfully not very many 8-string songs this time.
That's that sounds good. Yeah, that's better.
It's actually mostly 6.
Are you saying that that's a trend that you're setting, or does that mean that maybe as a whole 8-string guitars are being, because as far as I know you use some weird kind of tunings. I haven't learned too much stuff, but you use some weird stuff, right?
It's just dadgad tuning. But in different.
Okay.
So it's, you know, Kashmir, Led Zeppelin.
Sure.
Tesseract also used the same tuning because me and Ackle used to be in a band together. So I kind of got used to it from that. Yeah, as far as like not playing the 8 as much, it's mainly because it's just so big, he said.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's just keep it, okay, let's... All right.
I think it's also good sometimes just to go on something a little bit different. You know, I've been playing the 7-string consistently since 2006, and I didn't even have a 6-string guitar until 2015 from that point.
No way.
So I started just playing it more, and I got more inspired by it.
There's no specific amount of strings that I would be required to have. Like, I like playing 8-string, but use the guitar as a tool to make the music as cool as possible. So I'm not like, oh, you need to play 8-string. But that being said, like, right now, there's no, like, I have no choice. I love the fact that I'm playing an 8-string because it allows you to do a lot of stuff, but there is something, challenges and the limitations that you have on yourself or your music oftentimes provides a lot of really cool material, and that stuff can't be discounted in writing music. And I mean, playing an 8-string, yeah, I have all this cool stuff that I can play, all these notes, all these pitches, 2 more strings lower than any 6-string guitar, but there are limitations to it as well. And when you start searching for, like, necessity is a mother of invention, right? So you start searching for new ways. That's where a lot of cool stuff comes out.
That's very, very true. I mean, just as an example, in the new track that comes out tomorrow, I didn't want to just have an 8-string for one riff. I wanted the end riff to be heavy, and I was like, the only way to make this what I want it to be is to tune down. So instead of busting out the 8-string for this, I thought, how are we going to do this in a live situation? So I decided to do 2 tracks of the bass guitar through a guitar amplifier. So then at that point, when you're in a live situation, you can get the bass player to just do those extra parts, maybe with a little bit of delay.
Yeah, okay. It's interesting. The limitation is what's sort of driving you to do something more maybe more unique or interesting.
Yeah, and also the problem is that it was in C sharp. At that point, you're looking at a very thick gauge string, even with a baritone 8-string. It's almost verging on a 9-string, really.
Yeah.
And definitely do not want to do that.
No. New Rivers and Isle. Have you heard the New Rivers and Isle song?
I haven't listened to the new album, but the Owls album. That album is absolutely incredible.
You guys share some creative decisions. Is that true?
In the band, yeah, for sure. Like Mike actually only just left. We've been structuring and writing riffs. In fact, Mike has an entirely track of his own that I've not even played guitar on, because he's one of those people that can play everything. All the structuring we do together. If Andy thinks a different structure will work, we'll talk about it.
I was sort of more referring to the other instrumentation, like using a saxophone, specifically brass kind of stuff. You guys did a little bit of that, did you not? I'm not. Yeah. Okay. So that kind of stuff, is that when you first did that, were you like, we're fucking crazy, or were you just like, I don't know if anybody's like, what was the? Because like oftentimes as a band, we've thought about adding, and this is something we might do in the future, but I don't know, but adding like almost synthwave elements, because we all really love that stuff. But it's like making that creative choice is like, oh shit, that's like a real big departure.
Well, unfortunately, we never got the saxophone on a record. And we only did it in a live situation, which was disappointing, because I really wanted the saxophone on the record. Like the good thing about that as well is that a couple of the shows on that tour, you know, Chris at the time lost his voice. You know, there's only a certain amount of shows you can do in a row as a vocalist before you start feeling it, you know, especially going between singing and screaming and switching, and also playing sax and trying to jump around and, you know, meeting people, getting sick. A couple of shows he did saxophone only, and was doing the vocal lines on the saxophone, and to me it sounded wicked. It was just a different sort of way to portray the same thing.
Right. What was the overarching struggle with finding / keeping a lead singer?
It's kind of a mixture of a number of things, to be honest. And when you live in a van with someone for 24 hours a day for 6 to 8 weeks at a time, sometimes it just doesn't work. Unfortunately, that's what happens, and it might not even work after you've been friends for years. Like, you don't really know someone until you live with them.
I mean, you're right. There was a thing that we were doing as a band, and this is like, I'm from this kind of smaller city called Abbotsford, about an hour away from Vancouver. I was looking through Craigslist trying to find like a band to join because I was playing guitar, for 10 years at that point. I started jamming with the guys in the band now, and then eventually it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to drive an hour each way to jam 3 times a week. I got a job with our drummer, Spencer, and I moved in with him.
Okay.
So now I'm working, jamming, hanging out with, and just like living with. And then slowly everybody started moving into the same house. And at one point we had 3 of the members living in the same house. We were all working together, jamming together, hanging out together, drinking together, and being in a band together and writing music 3 times a week. We did that for 2-3 years, and then it slowly became obvious, like, hey, we shouldn't be doing, like, this is too much. You're right. I mean, you never really know somebody until you live with them. And luckily I found a group of guys that I can more or less get along with most of the time. It takes a lot of patience to be just around somebody all the time.
Yeah, I mean, on tour is probably the worst time when it comes to actually, really getting to know someone, because obviously you're in an environment that is firstly really small. In America, there's no such thing as a shower in a venue. So,
Nope.
There's no such thing as catering.
Nope.
And you're sleeping in a van on top of each other with no food, no shower.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is you get so just pent up sexual energy that you guys are just all making out all the time. Like, I mean, I don't know about your band, but we were making a lot of sexual attention in the van all the time. 5 or 6 or 7, however many crew members you have, sweaty, gross dudes, all basically sleeping like sardines in a small tin that could kill you at any second.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying actually if you put it like that.
Years ago, we were on tour with, I can't remember who, but the headlining band at the time, they were like, yeah, well, when you tour Europe, you get fat. And when you tour the US, you get skinny. And it's like, that's super strange because I'm over here in Canada and we've toured the US a bunch of times and we've also toured Europe a bunch of times. And yeah, the difference is in the way that they treat. And this is no disrespect to the U.S. promoters, bookers, venue staff at all. It's just how it is. You don't get the hospitality that you get in Europe.
Sometimes you do. Like, I think it depends on the level.
Sure.
Because the UK is very similar as well. Like, UK catering is usually pretty terrible as well.
Yes.
At the same level. But the moment you start getting to like 700 to 1,000 capacity venues is when it starts getting better.
Yeah.
But you get that treatment in Europe from, especially in the Netherlands, where their venues are government funded for the most part.
Oh,
that's why they're always
right.
so good. I actually disagree with you on the getting fatter part in Europe. I always seem to get fatter in the United States.
Oh, really? Okay, so that is, and you're saying that's probably because of why?
Probably Wendy's.
Specifically Wendy's. Okay, great. Fast food culture in the States, oddly enough, and I don't know if anybody watching and listening to this knows this or has experienced this or maybe feels very strongly about this, because I'm sure that you and I have some of the same kind of friends who are very adamant about which gas station they go to get sandwiches at. From what hole did gas station food culture crawl out of? Like, what kind of thing is, only go to Wawa? And then somebody's like, no way, Sheetz is better than Wawa. And then you have like an argument about it. It's like, guys, it's been sitting there. It's disgusting. Like, what are you talking about? The thing is, the quality of food that you can get at 2 or 3 in the morning in Canada definitely is Chef Boyardee out of a can, and you don't have a can opener, so you have to like grind it against the cement, versus going to Sheetz in the middle of the night somewhere in the US and you're like, I can get an actual sandwich. You know what I mean? At least there's that.
I've not toured the States since I became a vegetarian.
Oh, really?
So that's pretty terrifying. I started reintroducing fish again recently because I got a little bit bored, to be honest.
Right.
More than anything. Thinking about going to the States as a vegetarian seems a bit terrifying to me because our bass player ended up eating a chicken burger because he was that hungry.
Right.
On one of the tours.
What song / riff made you hit a wall in your guitar playing in your early years, and how did you get through it?
Master of Puppets.
Oh.
Like, when I found out that James was doing it in all one direction, and then I tried it, I was like, I have no idea how he does this.
Wow. And that was what age?
Probably like 17.
So when you're 17, are you on the internet looking up tabs? Is that kind of like your main thing, or is it magazines still, or what?
I can't really remember. Like, it was definitely like the Guitar Tab website for a lot of it, but I also used to buy a bunch of magazines as well. After a certain age, I stopped learning other people's songs. And I think it was probably I was around about 18 when that happened. But, you know, it's happened many other times as well. I remember like trying to learn liquid tension experiment.
Yeah.
There's one run in Paradigm Shift that still is a nightmare. It's this run.
All right. Okay. Busting out the acoustic guitar.
In fact, actually, it's an acoustic, so how am I going to do it? I'm going to do it lower, but...
Sweet. Yes.
It's that one, but it's really fast.
Yes.
On the 12, it's like towards the end of the solo in Paradigm Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember trying that and thinking, this is impossible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with Eugene's Trick Bag as well by Vi. I ended up playing that song for my final exam when I was a kid, but then it took me forever to get a couple of those bits as well. You know, I think that everyone goes through that, you know, that wall block. When I filled in for Periphery in 2011, I remember Zygle Rocks giving me, I think it took me 4 days to learn that after the shows.
Every guitar player that's around our age, I think, went through that. If you're into shred, if you're into Steve Vai, if you're into Paul Gilbert, Yngwie Malmsteen, you probably saw that clip or watched that movie, and you watched Ralph Macchio play that stuff. It was before I knew what overdubbing was. So when I watched that, I was like, this guy's playing without a pick. End note. He does a bend where it's like a bunch of other instrumentation comes in and it's like, what? And it sounds insane. And I remember watching it in like my basement going like, okay, is he like doing something like maybe it's an effects pedal or maybe he's got really good bends?
I mean, I remember thinking the exact same thing as you when that last note hits of his solo and thinking, how on earth did he make that sound? Obviously, over time, you get to learn these things, different timbres, what different instrumentation is.
Right.
I just saw a funny comment actually from Brian Pitts, the origin of fake Instagram guitarists.
Exactly. I've had this conversation with my wife Claire. She plays guitar as well, and she's actually at school right now. She's finishing up her music degree. What a fucking nerd! You know what I mean? Jeez. Let's get a fucking nerd. Let's get a big nerd in the chat for Claire. No, she's doing good. The way that she progressed in guitar was different than you and I, because she's about 7 years younger than I am, and she liked tech death and death metal immediately. You and I grew up in a way where it was like 80s, 90s shred guitarists, but the production was not what it is now. It was still a lot of to tape. It was still a lot of live videos that weren't perfect, but very, very good. And slowly, as technology kind of came in, our level of understanding of it, we sort of understood what was going on. But where she's coming from is, and in any younger guitar player really, you're coming from like hearing perfect representations of everything immediately, and that's your standard.
That's what happened to Mike, actually, our drummer. He grew up with Periphery, and he didn't know what a drum trigger was, so he tried to emulate that sound, which is why he turned out to be as good as he is.
Heard this story many times about different musicians where they listen to it and they think, oh, this is how it sounds, and I have to just emulate it, and it can be very positive, but it can also be a drawback and be very debilitating. It's really about your stick-to-itiveness, I guess, at that point.
Exactly.
And I mean, the birth of the Instagram guitarist, yeah, that's right. I mean, the joke is that Instagram guitarists are fake or whatever, and that's actually not necessarily the case all the time. No. I mean, but what is almost always the case is not that it's always mimed along or fake, which is sometimes the case. Well, what it almost always is an isolated take of a very small section of a song. And I'm also guilty of that too. You and I can play the hardest part of our set perfectly if we just isolate that one part.
I fucking can't.
I'm glad you called me, because I actually also can't. So.
This was even happening back in 2014. I did some videos at EMG TV, and I did playthroughs that were whole take rather than, just cutting it up, comping it, whatever.
Yep.
But in hindsight, does it really matter? If the music's good and people enjoy the music and they play it to a good degree live, does it matter? I could sit here and hate on whoever for not playing it, faking it on Instagram, but that's kind of like what people expect now, because you've made that happen during the recording process. Most recordings aren't actually the person playing the part, especially in metal.
Exactly. Yeah.
I use Sibelius to program certain orchestrations. For some reason, it made sense. But when it came to guitar, doing the notation for it, especially with the weird rhythm, it just makes absolutely zero sense to me. And I find it way easier to open up Cubase, program some drums, and record the guitar in. Have a little video of the phone to remind me of what I've done. And sometimes I forget the video of reminding me what I've done, and then I get someone else to program it in Guitar Pro so I can work out what I've done.
Oh, yeah.
That process for me is way more inspiring than using Guitar Pro.
I never write in Guitar Pro, but I use it as like a memory thing when I'm going to the studio. I won't track everything, or I won't write down everything in Guitar Pro, but the stuff that I do is like a long section that I don't want to waste in the studio. I don't want to be like, what is it? Oh, fuck, I don't remember. You know what I mean? So I use it pretty minimally also, but I use it for learning a lot. So it's just a really quick way to send information over the internet, and it gives you all of the information that you need. But the problem that it sort of poses is it is a perfect robotic version of the notes being played with no variation. It's hard to not compare yourself against that. And like you said, it was your drummer who basically grew up on this type of stuff, where everything is perfect, it's recorded perfectly, and it propelled him to great heights with musicianship. It can also turn people off. 8-string, I feel like, is like the perfect balance of being able to do the lowest stuff that you can really ever need to do, but without sacrificing any of the shreddy, cool stuff.
Don't say those words. Definitely don't say those words. You sound like a 6-string old man. You're running into bass territory. Never say never.
Oh, yeah. How many times have you heard somebody say, 8-string? I don't even know how to play 6. I'm like, hey, dude, I don't know how to play 6 either. I'm just adding more strings.
With the new Tool record, I think it's amazing. The problem when bands don't release music for that amount of time is there's this unexpected height. Instead of just enjoying it for what it is, you're wanting to relive that moment in your previous life, or earlier in your life, what it meant to you at that point.
Yeah.
And I think we often attach that emotion towards music all the time.
How cool is it? And I get these messages sometimes. I've been listening to your band since I was 12, and it means a lot. The music means a lot. Like, how fucking cool is it that you get to be a part of that?
That's kind of cool. All these points in time that you remember this music by, and it's amazing that people get that same emotion that I got.
That's funny that we have so many shared younger life experiences musically.
Oh, definitely. Sure.
So you guys have a new track coming out / already came out. What's the name of the track?
Labos.
And this is your second single?
First single from the new record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And this is a song that you are, scale 1 to 10, how excited are you for people to finally hear it?
I've been excited about this one for a long time. I actually wrote this song nearly 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
So it's been around for quite a while. It's now got Mick Gordon on it, and he made it not shit.
Wow. Okay, sweet. And that was that somebody that you reached out to? So you wanted him on the track?
Mick was meant to do the production layers on the last album. He agreed to it. And then, this company came along and offered him this game called Doom.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I think, old game.
Maternal.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible game.
Doom,
terrible.
Are you talking about Doom Maternal? Is that what you're talking about? Doom Maternal?
Yeah, Doom Maternal.
Okay.
Yeah. So he got offered that game. So he's like, guys, I'm really sorry, but I can't do it. After that, I got to meet him in Australia when we played in Brisbane. He came along and we chatted for a long time, hung out, got on well. And I've kind of stayed in touch with him ever since then. Yeah, he's done a lot.
Yeah.
Why on earth is he adding samples to our shit band?
Well, if you want to hear that shit music, where can people go to hear that? Is it going to be on Spotify or what's up?
Yeah, it's going to be everywhere. And there's actually a video for it coming out tomorrow as well.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me here, John, and good luck with the release. Good luck with the release of the new single, dude. I'll see you guys next.
Let's do this again. It sounds like we've got a lot to catch up on.
Oh, my God.
See you later, mate.
Bye.